Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. It's February the 2nd, and we're looking today again at Matthew chapter 22 from verse 23 to 40. And we have three small passages, and we could put the title over these passages as questions, questions, questions. The first paragraph describes the encounter of the Sadducees with the Lord Jesus. The second is the encounter with the Pharisees with the Lord Jesus. And the third is the Lord's question to the Pharisees. So let's talk about these one by one. The same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, saying to him, Master, Moses said that if a man die having no children, his brother should marry his wife and raise up seed to his brother. Now this is what's called the law of the Laverite. You see, in Israel, the land was linked to the family. So the inheritance of the land could be lost to the whole of that family if a very simple thing happened. A man died without an heir. And so it was very important that the land should always have an heir. And if a man died having no children, then his brother would also marry his wife and raise up seed to his brother, so that there would always be an heir for the land. Now they say there were 7 brothers, and each one of them married the wife, and each one of them died without an heir. You see, the Sadducees would treat this question with a great deal of hilarity. It was very funny to them. And they made it extra complicated by making the situation 7 times greater than normal. They just said the man died having had no children, and he had 7 brothers, and he had 6 brothers. They all marry his wife, and they all have union with her, but none of them have children by her. And then, of course, last of all, the woman dies. Now the question is, therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall she be of the 7? Because they all had a wife. Jesus, he answers this question in the most amazing way that just completely astounded them. They didn't know what to say. He said this. He said, you're making a mistake. You don't know the scriptures, and you don't know the power of God. 2 things you're making a mistake about. First of all, you don't know the scriptures, and secondly, you do not know the power of God. So what does he mean? He says, in the resurrection, there won't be marriage, and nor will there be people given in marriage. So when a person rises from the dead, they won't marry anyone, nor will they be given in marriage, nor will the marriage that they had in their mortal life continue in the resurrection. He says they'll be like the angels of God who don't marry. The angels of God don't marry each other. And in the resurrection, men won't marry each other. Not in resurrection, they won't. He said, and as touching the resurrection of the dead, have you not read that which was spoken unto you by God, who said, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob? God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. What the Lord Jesus was saying is this, is that though these 3 men are all dead in the flesh today, they will be alive at the resurrection of the righteous. And Abraham and Isaac and Jacob will live again. They will live in the world to come. They will have a resurrection. Just as the Lord Jesus was raised from the dead, so these three men, Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, will live again. You see, the Sadducees didn't believe in resurrection, but then they didn't believe in angels either. And the Lord Jesus answers both of the questions, both of the issues that they have. He speaks about the condition of those that are resurrected as being not married anymore. But he also says that they're going to be like the angels of God. So that wipes out that error. There are angels. And also, they believed that there wouldn't be a resurrection, and the Lord Jesus states very clearly and very categorically that there will be a resurrection of the dead. And so the Lord Jesus completely wipes out the whole of Sadducee theology. The whole of their theology is completely wiped away at a stroke by two simple points: that there will be a resurrection, and that in the resurrection there will not be marriage. Now, what was the result? It says they were astonished at the doctrine. And that's my password for today. They were astonished at the doctrine. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. How could this man, in just a moment, completely destroy all their theology? It's because it was the theology of men. It wasn't based upon the scriptures or on the power of God. Now, when the Pharisees heard that the Sadducees had been brought to silence, that's the point. Once they'd been brought to silence, they gathered together. And one of them that was a lawyer, that doesn't mean to say that he was a person that went to court, it meant that he was a person who was an expert in the law. He stood up to ask the Lord Jesus a question. He said, "Master, which is the greatest commandment in the law?" You see, there was a great deal of debate amongst the Pharisees as to which commandment was the most important. And whichever one you chose, somebody else would always say, but that one isn't the most important. This one is the most important. Whatever he said, he wasn't going to win as far as they were concerned. But his answer is this. He says, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like it, thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets." Now, you wouldn't think that the Lord Jesus was able to summarize Judaism in just a couple of sentences, but he does. The question was, which is the greatest commandment? He says to love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind. That is the greatest commandment. They were brought completely to silence. So because the Pharisees were actually gathered together, Jesus says to them, he says, I've got a question of my own for you. Here's a question. What do you think of Christ? I mean, whose son is he? And they said unto him, well, he's the son of David. Quite right. You see, the Messiah has a title. He is son of David. He said unto them, well, how does David in spirit call him Lord? Saying, the Lord said unto my Lord, sit thou on my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool. Now, if David called the Messiah Lord, then how is he his son? And no man was able to answer him a word. They didn't ask any more questions from that day onward. Why not? Because in this one question, the Lord Jesus had solved the riddle of his own identity. Yes, he is the Son of David. In his heritage, in his genealogy, he's the Son of David. However, David spoke of the Lord Jesus as being his Lord. Now that was something that totally flummoxed them. They could not believe it. They could not take it in. And that's the Lord Jesus, you see. He's able not only to answer all the greatest questions that men could ever ask. You see, the Lord Jesus was greater than Solomon. People came to Solomon with all the greatest questions they could even imagine, and he just answered them so easily. But a greater than Solomon is here, and he can answer all the questions that Judaism can even invent. And he just amazes them with an answer. And then he asks them one question: who is the Messiah? He's the Son of David. And that question is the question upon which Judaism today is still stuck. They're stuck on that question. The question that they're stuck on is this: who is Jesus of Nazareth? Well, he is the Son of David. God bless you. Great to speak to you. Look forward to speaking to you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye for now.